That tastes just like summer for me. I haven't had like a green smoothie probably for months. I cannot bring myself to make smoothies really through the winter. It's just too cold and not what I'm craving. But I thought in honour of this spring kind of reset, welcome spring video, it was about time I made myself a smoothie, and I have missed this. It's such a yummy smoothie. I really enjoy the my vegan vanilla protein powder. It's one of the yummiest ones I've ever had, and yeah, I love the look of it as well. Very fresh. Admittedly, it's a very grey day here. It doesn't feel massively spring-like, but it's definitely on the way. I was out and about at the weekend and I saw loads of snowdrops and catkins and all those kind of like early signs of spring, and temperatures, although it's grey and dreary today, are rising. You know, it's not, I think it's about 9 degrees today, which is mental. It's not been that warm in the Scottish Highlands for a long time. So I definitely feel like I'm getting into a bit of a spring mood, and I love sharing these kind of getting ready for the season videos with you guys. I think I've got like a whole playlist of them now because they're one of my favourite things to film, because I love to kind of change up my life with the seasons. And I think especially coming out of winter into spring, it's such a hopeful time of year. It's got a lot of joy around it, a lot of excitement with it, and a lot more energy. I'm not really someone that sets like New Year goals at the new year really. I set a few intentions, but I don't push myself, whereas it gets to this time of the year and I'm like, I'm ready. I want to set some intentions. I've got so much more energy, and yeah, it's one of my favourite times of the year. So that's what I want to film in this video. I want to do a little bit of planning. I'll probably do that with you guys today because I've got a new Notion planner that I'm excited to use. I need to freshen up the house. It definitely needs a little bit of a like deeper clean. There's a few areas that I could do with a bit more attention. And of course I have been compiling my spring reading list. So I went to the library yesterday and I got a fantastic book haul. So I can't wait to share that with you guys, so we can all share in this lovely spring energy together. And some of you noticed I'm actually wearing some new activewear that I recently got from Organic Basics, who I am thrilled to be partnering with again on this video because I am a huge fan of Organic Basics. They're my all-time favourite clothing brands, and I am just obsessed with their activewear. I'm someone that does enjoy an active lifestyle, but I'm not really a gym girly. I have tried that and documented it occasionally on this channel, but I always go back to just doing movement that works for me, and that's the only way I remain consistent, is I make sure that I'm moving in a way that I enjoy, and a lot of the time it just means working out from home, doing Pilates, sort of thing you've seen me doing this morning. So I love that Organic Basics are promoting a kind of feel good fitness vibe with this clothing range, which means that I can really feel both confident and comfortable as I move my body. So I'm currently wearing one of their Active Flow sports bras, and I have to say that Active Flow collection is probably my favourite. I adore the fact that this is like retro 90s inspired, really, especially as I work out from home. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to do my dad's like Jane Fonda like workouts on videotape, and I just love that kind of fun that's come with this collection. And like all of the clothing I want to show in this range, this has been made sustainably with recycled nylon, which is very cool. It's in a really lovely eclipse colour, and then it just has this like contrasting white stripes that make it really fun to wear. And then I've actually also got the matching biker shorts that go with this set, and these also have like the white stripes on the side, and they're really comfortable fit. I feel really secure wearing these, and I've actually worn them both out running, and it's my new running go-to outfit. I really enjoy them. In the shorts there's even a wee pocket at the back there, which is very handy. And then as part of their general kind of active collection, I have this mesh top, this long sleeve mesh top that I got in the colour walnut, which is a really lovely kind of rich brown colour, and you can see it's kind of see-through, which means it's really breathable. I wear this over the top of the sports bra a lot of the time. I went to a yoga class a couple of mornings ago where I wore these two together, and it worked really well. It kind of gives you that extra layer for warmth, but it still feels like really lightweight. And I love the thumb holes as well. That's really handy. It stops the sleeves like riding up, especially when you're doing like more complicated yoga poses. And in terms of my leggings, this is also in the active collection. I just got these in black. These are their full length leggings, and they are just a fantastic, versatile, like all-round legging. I've been running in these, I've done yoga in these. They can just support you through any way you like to move your body. And then I also got this hoodie, which I'm actually surprised how much I love it. I've never had a zip or a cropped hoodie before, but I just love the fit, especially with these leggings and the sports bra. I just think it's like really flattering, but also really like nice and cozy. Perfect layer just to put over the top of things when it is still a little bit cold at this time of year. And it's got like a nice thick hood as well, which is great in the Scottish Highlands when it rains, you know, for
the majority of spring. And this hoodie is part of their weekend collection, along with these sweat shorts, both of which are made from organic cotton, and they've got such a soft material, and really, again, it just feels so high quality, so lovely to wear. And I just think these are perfect for kind of like lounging about or going on errands. Obviously this time of year I've not been wearing my shorts out quite yet, but I can't wait to do so. I've had shorts from Organic Basics before and I live in them in the summer, so I am absolutely thrilled to have this set. I cannot recommend Organic Basics enough. I continue working with them because I can completely stand by everything they do, and everything I've ever had from them is still in my wardrobe and still worn all of the time. The quality really, really does last. So if you would like to check out Organic Basics yourself, all the items I've shown today are linked in my description, and you can use the code MollyActive10, which I'll put on the screen and the description down below, which gives you 10% off everything on Organic Basics. So it's a site-wide offer. And thank you so much to Organic Basics for working with me on this video. I'm gonna drink up my smoothie, get ready for the day, and then we can chat all things planning. So this is the third Notion planner, seasonal Notion planner I have created. I started with autumn because it's my favourite season, so I felt most inspired to start then, and now into my spring one. And I use these myself, but I also sell them on my Etsy store, so this will be available now. And if you are one of my paid Substack members, you will have got this for free as part of my slow letter a week or so ago, I think. But I love Notion. I mean, I've recommended it a million times. It's completely free to use, but I do sell templates on my Etsy because it's not the most user friendly when you're starting out, because it is a complete blank slate. Like, you can do anything with it, but that also means if you don't know what you're doing, it takes a little bit of time. I mean, I took quite a while to really I got the basics fairly quickly, but to really hone it and make it really useful, but also like a nice place to spend time and aesthetically pleasing, it took a little bit more sort of time and training. And I used quite a few templates myself when I was starting out, so I've created some with kind of beginners in mind. And I love to shift my life with the seasons because it just feels a really natural way for me to live, is to plan on a seasonal basis rather than, you know, obviously I do some planning on a daily, monthly, weekly, yearly basis, but I think I really do my main planning through the seasons, and I like to get ahead and make sure I kind of make the most of every one because I love all of them. Like, autumn is my favourite, and traditionally I'd say summer's probably my least favourite, but there's something beautiful about every single season, and I love like romanticising it and making the most of it. So today I've just been sort of filling in this planner. It's not something I sit down and do all in one, but I just sort of start picking things off. So I just listed some affirmations and some to-dos I want to do. So my affirmations for the season is stuff like I want to prioritise going away in the van because I went away at the weekend, and although it's still February, it was fairly mild. It was above freezing anyway, which is mild, in the Scottish Highlands in February, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm just so excited now to do more of that in the spring. And I also want to make sure I spend more quality time with friends. Winter's a harder time, I think, to see people. I don't know about you, I find I see people less, and travelling is more difficult when it's snow and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got some plans to see friends. I've got plans to go down in May and see one of my best friends who I only get to see once a year because she lives so far away, and her wee bubba. So yeah, I'm really excited to sort of fill up my calendar a little bit more, and I've been doing that as well. I've I've got like a activity and just like a general calendar that I just do on a seasonal basis in this planner. Do's, it's just sort of top level, just things to like do every single year. So like refresh my wardrobe. I definitely do more so of that like in the spring and the autumn. I find, you know, I'm kind of thinking 2 seasons ahead. I kind of split the year like that rather than doing much between like spring, summer, autumn, winter. And I did a really big declutter. I did think of filming it, but I just sort of got in the zone. So I didn't film that, apologies, but I did a really, I say big declutter, I mean I've got quite a small wardrobe, but for me it was quite a big declutter, just stuff that I've been hanging on to because of habit rather than they were really making me feel good and didn't serve me anymore. So I donated a load of that, recycled the odd thing that just wasn't suitable to donate, sold a couple of things on Vinted, and my wardrobe feels really, really good. I've not swapped things yet, so I've not really like put away my thick fleeces and stuff or taken out my like lighter dresses because we're not there, but it's coming and that's exciting. And I also like to like plan some outfit ideas in the wardrobe section on this planner, and then I can look on Vinted and get some like bargains because I do try and get most of my clothing secondhand or from sustainable brands. And then my favourite thing to do is I've got like a section on leisure where it's like read, watch, listen, and I like list out all the things I want to do. The read is definitely the big thing for me. I'm not a massive music podcast person, so to be honest I don't really touch that section a huge amount myself. Watch I do. I if you've got any kind of spring sort of lighter TV or film recommendations, please do share them because I'm terrible at finding things that I like. So I also will probably go and watch some YouTube videos of like YouTubers I like that do these kind of recommendations every year, get some inspiration like that. My reading one, I'm just starting to fill that in, and obviously I did a big library haul yesterday, which you can kind of see some of them behind me. This basket is now full of books, all sorts of books, so I'm sort of updating that with that in mind. I also try and make sure that I am also always checking off books on like my bookshelf, which is in our living space, so I'm not I'm shifting them around. They're not books that stay there for too long, but I'll be sharing those with you later on in the vlog. And then just been doing like my morning and evening routine, revision board, and I changed my desktop background as well to, I actually just did that on Canva. I love Canva, I use it for everything, and there was like a preloaded one, I just swapped out some of the photos. So yeah, I definitely feel, although it's a little bit brighter now, a bit of a grey day, it's definitely put me in the spring mood. So if you want to get yourself in the mood for spring, then check out this planner in my description below, and I can't wait to finish filling this out.
The sun is shining, albeit probably briefly, but I'm feeling motivated. It is time to spring clean this house. Like Okay, so I have got my book sweater on, I have got my spring mug back out, which I'm very excited about. I just love this mug, it's dandelions and it always reminds me of spring. So it is definitely time to start talking about books, which I am really excited about. I mean, I'm always excited about talking about books, but this season, we're doing things a little bit differently, because if you watched my earlier vlogs this year, I said that my word of the year is explore, and I set an intention when it comes to my reading is to use that word to kind of push me a little bit more out of my comfort zone when it comes to reading. So I would say that I'm, since I got back into reading the last few years, a fairly wide reader, but I definitely saw room for improvement. And you know, my favourite kind of genres typically is mysteries, especially like gothic mysteries, or places like mysteries set in like gothic places or written in a gothic way. It probably comes from reading like the Bronte's work when I was younger, like Wuthering Heights is one of my all-time favourite books, so no doubt that has influenced that being my favourite genre. But I also am influenced by what season we're in, and you know, I'm probably getting less and less strict about that, particularly as I'm trying to this year be a bit more like exploratory with my reading. So I would say I do read sort of darker themed stuff in the autumn winter, and that's when I really get into like my gothic mysteries, whereas spring summer tends to be a little bit lighter, maybe more romance. I'm not a massive romance reader, but I do like to dabble in it more so in this kind of time of year. So because I've set this intention, it's meant that I've actually spent more time in my library, and all these books apart from one came from my library. I wrote about libraries on my Substack recently, so I'll link that down below, kind of explaining like why I love them, why we should all love them and use them, and the best ways to kind of go about them, because there's so much more to a library than you probably think. They offer so many different wonderful services. So I went to the library earlier this week or last week, and I only had like a limited time. It's a I went to the big library in Inverness. You usually only have a really small one locally, so it's always a bit like overwhelming and exciting to go there, and I ended up just pulling books off shelves. So we've got a real nice mix of things. So I'm doing a little bit of a mix now between planning my reading. You know, if I hear about books online mostly or like through friends, then I will write them down, put them on my TBR list if I really feel like that's something that I'm going to enjoy, and often some like look up inspiration for like seasonal reads and stuff. But then I'm doing a lot more like spontaneous reading as well, which is again why the library is so fantastic. So that's the preamble. I don't want to go on too much because this is fair stack, and this is only like a sample of what I intend to read. I tend to read 1 to 2 books a week, more like 1 book a week to be honest, but it kind of averages out 5 to 6 books a month. So I probably will read more than this, but I just wanted to get like an overview of the kind of books that I'll be reading and some of my favourite ones that I'm most looking forward to. So we'll start with some non-fictions, and probably not a shock that both of these are nature themed. I am pushing myself a little bit more in my non-fiction. I've been reading more like memoirs and things like that recently, and if you want like a full debrief of everything I read, then I do shoot seasonal review video roundup things for my Substack members, my paid Substack membership, so you can check those out. I'll maybe link one down below so you can see them. That's where I give like my reviews of everything I read. But these two were calling to me for different reasons. So the first one is all about moths. It's called Much Ado About Mothing, which is a fun title. This edition's been a bit damaged really, which is a bit unfortunate. Luckily it has this coating to prevent it being damaged, but it's essentially just the author James is going through moths in Britain and Ireland, some of our like most rare and like remarkable moths, and I think it's set like over a year and just goes into like mothing as an activity and all of these different moths and telling us all about them. And I think that's wonderful because I am someone that loves learning about sort of underrated wildlife in particular, and I actually weirdly maybe used to have a bit of a fear of moths, but I kind of conquered it by realising how fascinating they are, but I really don't know much about them. So this looks like a really charming read. I love it when authors go really in depth on like a certain species or group of species. I find that really fun. And the next one is this one. It's Wild City, and it's all about urban nature spotting, nature writing by Florence Wilkinson, Encounters with Urban Wildlife, which again maybe isn't something that's obvious for me to pick up because I live in the Scottish Highlands, which is probably one of the least urban kind of city areas in the UK, but I think because of that, I was really interested in learning a little bit more about like urban wildlife. And I read The Stubborn Light of Things, which is like a nature diary written by Melissa Harrison a couple of years ago. And half of the time she was writing that was in London, and I found it really interesting to see how wildlife is like adapting to city areas. So I just thought this would be really interesting, a different kind of perspective on wildlife spotting for me. So I think, yeah, especially if you do live in more of an urban location, this would probably be the kind of thing that would be good, you know, useful kind of handbook almost to read, so you can notice your nature like on your doorstep. It doesn't have to just be like in the wild Scottish Highlands. Nature really is everywhere. That's the two non-fiction books. I do read non-fiction a bit slower, so I probably won't read a huge amount more than those in the spring months. And then another thing I mentioned that I wanted to do more of was to read books for different audience ages, especially middle grade, because I've read a fair bit of YA, like young adult, and continue to do so. But I really think that middle grade is an underrated, it's not really a genre, is it, audience, I suppose. And I love the classics that are kind of set or aiming that kind of like audience, like Alice in Wonderland, Anna Green Gables, that kind of thing. But I wanted to try out a little bit more modern middle grade books. So this was just something I picked up from the library, and I don't know much about it. All I know is the cover looks really, really fun, as does the back cover, and it's about fairies. It's about this boy called Janny whose baby sister is taken away and swapped with a changeling, and it's basically all about him trying to get his sister back and kind of forming a relationship with this changeling. And it's full of magic, full of fairies. It just looks like a really, really fun read. And this is the only book in this stack that didn't come from the library. I actually specifically bought this on Vinted because I saw someone mention it in a YouTube video and I was instantly like hooked. I really, really wanted to read it. Again, cover is gorgeous. So it's The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. And this is a romance / fantasy, but I wouldn't say it's like a traditional romantasy. Like, I'm currently reading the second ACOTAR, The Court of Mist and Fury, I think is the one I'm reading. Slowly making my way through that series. That's like a really, obviously, like bestseller traditional romantasy. I would say this is more of a romance that happens in like more of a magical realism setting. That's what I'm getting from it anyway. I've obviously not read it, so I can't tell you, but that's what I'm getting from the blurb. But this follows two characters, two ornithologists, so people that are bird experts, and I am a trained ornithologist as well. I worked in my past life as a conservationist, so that in itself was quite interesting to me. And they're kind of rivals in this competition where they want to win Bird of the Year, but they end up having to team up to try and capture this like really rare bird. So it gives me kind of like not enemies to lovers, but kind of rivals to lovers kind of vibes. But it just seems like a really fun, interesting take on a romance, and I've heard really, really good things, so I am excited to read this one. And potentially the most random book on this stack, I only picked this up because the cover, I was like, there's a Hoover on it, and that in itself I just found interesting. I mean, how many books have Hoovers on them? I just felt like this was going to be fun, and I looked up on Goodreads, and it's essentially hard to put in a genre. It's put into kind of like fiction, a little bit more like literary fiction, and humour. It is meant to be really funny, and I love funny books. I want to read more of them. This is my favourite books growing up was Bridget Jones' Diary, so I definitely, you know, it'd be nice, again this is quite short as well, so a nice sort of funny read, but also it being like literary fiction suggests there's a lot more like character development and depth. So this follows a 26-year-old cleaner called Mona, and she's just gone through a breakup and ends up getting into a relationship with another man who has lots of complications, include being married. And it's about her being a cleaner, and I think of like meeting the other people she cleans for as well and getting to know their stories. There's not much more than that on the blurb, and I kind of want to go into it a bit blind because I think that's the fun with it, spontaneous reads from the library. So I'm really intrigued to see how this one goes. And this one I would say is more traditional for me in terms of what I picked up. It's The Ninth Child, and again I picked this up because I was like, oh, that looks like it might be set in Scotland. And it is. It's a historical fiction, and it's set in 1856 in the Highlands, in the Highland wilderness, and we follow Isabel, who is a young doctor's wife, and she has struggled to have children. She's lost lots of children, had a lot of miscarriages over the years, but is pregnant again, and they move to this really remote wilderness. So it's about that, it's about her pregnancies and her grief and things like that, but there's also an element of fantasy to this, I think, or magical realism, because it suggests that there is a darker presence in this kind of Scottish Highland setting. So I think it's kind of straddles fantasy, magical realism, as well as being like more of a mystery. I have to have something like this on my TBR at all times because I love these kind of books. And then the last one, I think I had heard of this or I've seen it in bookshelves before. It's quite an iconic cover. It's Mad Honey, and it looks like from the blurbs it's really well reviewed, and it's a New York Times and Sunday Times bestseller, and it looks to be like a mystery thriller. Very short blurb, so I'll just read it to you. It says, the body of an 18-year-old girl is found at the bottom of the stairs of a family home. Only 2 people know the truth behind what happened. One of them is dead and the other is your son. I mean, that sounds really good, doesn't it? And again, like loads of fantastic reviews, and I'd like to have a more kind of fast-paced mystery thriller on my TBR. Again, particularly if I'm reading heavier stuff, it's just nice to mix things up with this kind of book. That is my stack, and I have to say I'm really excited about this. I feel like I was getting towards, in not a reading rut, but like getting a little bit towards that kind of mindset. So yeah, I think this could be a fun way of getting me into different kind of books, authors, genres. Let me know if you read any of these and if you have any thoughts on them, and of course please do share your own reads and books you're looking forward to reading this season. And I think I will end this vlog here, so thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this got you in the kind of spring mindset, even if the weather's not that spring like where you are at the moment, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.